solution is very critical. And the impasse that we are now witnessing within the Senate on this revenue sharing formula is not healthy for the country. It is delaying disbursement of resources to the counties, and these counties have obligations, and these obligations relate to service to the people in those counties. So it is absolutely important that this delay is done away with. What we are looking for is fairness. At any one time we should be looking for fairness. And indeed the Constitution makes provisions on the parameters that should be taken into account when allocating resources. There's the issue of population, there's the issue of geographical spread. Then there are other parameters that come in which also take into account what would be affirmative action for those counties that may have suffered. And hence that is why there was also the creation of the equalization fund to be able to mitigate certain areas where for historical reasons they were not able to get the kind of support they required. So there is already that equalization fund. So a clear balance is needed. It must be a culmination of sensibility and sensitivities of these areas of concern, and then work out something that can be acceptable. We have had a formula that has been moving and helping for some time. Clearly, after 5 years or 6 years, it may require review, as I said, because circumstances change. Because even the initial reaction I got showed that this formula would also injure a county like Vihiga, because as much as we are very densely populated, we don't have a huge landmass. All right, so it also affects the allocation in that area. So clearly, there's need for further dialogue. And in order not to delay services, I can only appeal to the Senate to look at it in the context of saying, let this financial year go, because you are delaying services to the ordinary citizens across the board. Clearly, the economy is strained. As we speak now, the economy is strained, and the Treasury is having difficulty in meeting its targets. And resources are supposed to be disbursed when they have collected the requisite funds. So we are seeing a strained economy. So the longer this impasse continues, the only person who will be at peace will be the national government. Because to them, as these wrangles continue and as the delay continues in terms of disbursements, because their cash flows are not good, to them, they don't mind. So, frankly speaking, it's the national government that will continue to benefit from this prolonged impasse.
So you believe they might have engineered it?
I would not know whether they have engineered it, but I don't think they would be having sleepless nights if there's a prolonged delay, in my view. Because, as I said, the only way to get things moving is to use the existing formula and then have this other arrangement put on the table for further dialogue by the various stakeholders. See, the emotionalism in a matter like this may not be very helpful. I really don't want to digress into the merits and the demerits of the handshake and what was anchoring it and so forth. That is a debate for another day. I think the leaders should focus on finding a formula. They should not be grandstanding at this point in time. It's not about grandstanding, and it's not about arrangements that are not recognized in law. All right? The law here is talking about revenue sharing arrangements. That is what the law talks about. It is not going to talk about a different kind of exercise which is not connected to this. Why would the Treasury be worried? They're not worried, because for as long as they're arguing and delaying, because of the cash flow problems we are facing as a country at this point in time, then Treasury will not be under pressure to help them resolve this issue. So it is up to the leaders to know that county governments also serve the ordinary Kenyans. And if they can't sort out this formula quickly, go with the existing formula and then have more time to sort out the finer details. Revenue sharing is not a simple matter. And this is why we created the agency, the organization that works out the formula and makes recommendations. This is the County Revenue Allocation Authority. That should be the one to guide the technicalities around going through this process and finding a formula. So if indeed this impasse is where it is, my view would be that there should be no further delay. There's an existing formula which they can use to disburse the resources, and then they can allow the Senate Finance Committee together with the CRA to have a little more time in conjunction with the Council of Governors, where they can discuss this further, because it's important we have this through consensus rather than rubbing it down through people's throats, because we want to create cohesion in the country. So that would be my take, that let us disburse resources using the existing formula and then allow ample time for the stakeholders to have some further dialogue, and then the new formula can come into effect in the next financial year. In reality, we need to constantly, at well predetermined intervals, take stock of how those resources are being allocated, because things change. What may appear to be an area that has a large population and so forth, over time could turn out to become the marginalized area from a completely different perspective. So this requires review, and a review is not bad, but it should not be acrimonious in my view. So population is important. What we need to be arguing about is that, have we been putting the right weight on population? I come from a densely populated area. Vihiga County, for instance, is a county that has a very high population density. You have about 1,000 people per square kilometer, if not more. And that is exactly what you'll find in Kiambu and in Kisii and in Meru and in so many other places. So there are these genuine concerns that we cannot say we want to have a formula that punishes people because they are more. Okay. While at the same time, we also don't want to have a formula that says that because you have such a large land mass, you should also be punished or something like that.